When you go through those seasons where shit just hits the fan and you've no control over it, something you couldn't even think of happens, and you do everything you can to fix it, support it, problem solve it, and it still doesn't get there. And you just get to this point of like, what do I do? And you got to kind of just chalk it up to the universe or God at this point. I've had a couple of those points lately, and I want to share with you guys today how I have found my way through it. So it's going to be a short and sweet episode, but stay till the end because by the end of this, you're going to have a different perspective on why we ultimately need to surrender and how to get through those times easier. Yeah, I've had some things come up lately in my life, and the main one has been with my rental properties. Okay. And so I have two rental properties. One is with a full time tenant, the other one is an Airbnb. Okay. And I have never really had any issues in the past with either. I've had really good luck. And so, when it comes to rentals, it's usually the first thing you hear people say, like, oh, you got to deal with these tenants and all this stuff. I've honestly never had any issues till this past year. Okay. And so I saw this meme. I had originally saw it a couple months ago, but I just reposted it recently from Gabby Bernstein. And it said, the universe doesn't respond to how much you force, it responds to how you feel. Yeah. Let me say that again. The universe doesn't respond to how much you force, it responds to how you feel. Okay. And I talk about this a lot with my clients, okay? I talk about the radio frequency example, which I think I talked about a few episodes ago, but essentially like whatever's going on internally is what's going to happen externally in your world, okay? So if you want to listen to the radio station 91.5, you need to turn your radio up to 91.5 to be able to hear what they're playing and saying. But if you're at 88 or 100.3 or 82.7, you're not going to be able to pick up what's on that stream. Okay. So if you want to do it, you have to change your internal radio first to hear that. Okay. So what happened with me recently is I have this Airbnb, and we just started Airbnb at a little while ago. And so the first thing that happened was we had someone stay there and then tell us that the toilet had overflowed. But what had actually happened was they ran the bathtub and forgot about it, and it flooded not the whole apartment, but the master bedroom, the walk-in closet, and that bathroom. Luckily, it was covered by insurance, thank God, but we ended up having to take it off the market for a month. We had to do all these fixes, which, because insurance was covering it, we did a bunch of other upgrades, but it was an extra bill that I wasn't expecting that I had to pay for. And then again, I couldn't make any money off it while it was off. So not an ideal start. We had a few other renters, which was good, but it was frustrating, right? So we get everything fixed. We're back up on the market. Great. And then we had some great stays, great people. And then we had someone else stay. And this person decided to flush baby wipes, Q-tips, lots of hard objects down the toilets, not just one, but both of them, which ended up getting so clogged that it backed up into the shower. Had to get a plumber in to take the toilets off to unclog them. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. So another thing I wasn't expecting to pay for, but it's business, it happens, da-da-da-da-da, okay? And then on top of that, that same condo building had a pretty big assessment on it years ago, and I've paid a pretty big chunk already to it. But we got an email in January saying there's a phase 3. Surprise! Actually, not a surprise. They told us about it, but I forgot because they told us about this 3 years ago, okay? Which was another 5-figure bill, okay? And so I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed. Do I have the money to pay for all these things? Yes, but I am annoyed because I just got hit with 3 big bills back to back that I wasn't expecting to pay, okay? And so I naturally was getting frustrated, and every time I thought about this, my chest was getting tight, my stomach was getting tight, my body was clearly going into survival mode. And again, not because I don't have the money, but because being hit with these unexpected bills, it just threw me back into a place of scarcity. And you know, and I haven't been in a place where I haven't been able to afford paying these big bills for a long time. Like I'm blessed and I've worked hard, but like it was still just like bam, 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 and like things you don't want to spend money on, ideally, right? And so for some reason, it was spinning me out. Like it was. I was getting frustrated. I didn't want to pay it. I was like, what's the last possible thing I can pay this? Like, or when's the last possible time I can pay these things? I paid the Airbnb bills already, but like the assessment charge, I don't have to technically pay for a little bit. And so I'm like, when's the latest I can pay it? And I just caught myself spiraling, right? And getting worked up, thinking about it in the middle of the night for no reason. Now, mind you, like don't get me wrong, we're paying for a wedding this year, we're buying a house next year. You know, there's other things that I guess I just would rather put my money towards at this time versus than these things. But it was waking me up in the middle of the night. I'm not gonna lie. And like again, I share this with you guys to be like, it's not that it's not possible to deal with these things. These things could have been dealt with yesterday, but for some reason my body's fighting wanting to just do that, right? So where my mind went instead of just like paying it and being done with it, it was like, okay, so then we're this month we got to do this in numbers, and then we got to do this by Q2 and and I started strategizing business wise all these extra dollars I had to bring in. Okay, fine. But what I found was happening was I was now trying to force the solution, right? And that forcing me was bringing me into a very tight and restrictive space. It was bringing me back into survival mode, back into scarcity. And so everything, my thinking, my body, everything was just getting tight. I was like getting snappy around conversations around it. Thomas would ask something and be like, I don't want to talk about that right now. Like I was just, my entire energy around this stuff was just super tight and restrictive. And I'm sure you guys can imagine that's not fun to be in that state. And again, I know better. I know better. Like, Mintu, just pay the damn bill. The money's right there. Just pay it. But for some reason, I just couldn't even access that in that moment. Okay. I was just like, I was mad. I was angry. I was, again, tense. Just this is a great example of when your prefrontal cortex shut down, right? Like the part of your brain that's necessary for problem solving and creative thinking. It just wasn't even there to just like send the money. It was just like strategizing and thinking of all the ways to pay for all this stuff. Like I wasn't even just thinking about the assessment bill. I was thinking about the wedding and the down payment on the house and all these things. And like, which mind you, I have a fiance who's also part of this and he's just chilling, like not stressed about any of it because he doesn't need to be. We don't need to be. But here I am, okay, being a neurotic. He's amazing. He just calms me down so well, but just being neurotic about it. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. And so again, I couldn't even access that thought of like, just pay it. It was, what do you need to do? Where do you need to get the money from? Blah, blah, blah. And then, again, as the algorithm works, sometimes not great, the algorithm, but this algorithm was on point this day. It brought me this Gabby Bernstein quote, which said, "The universe doesn't respond to how much you force, it responds to how you feel." And so in that moment, I said, okay, well, I'm trying to force all these things right now, right? And I should ask, I can't talk about it because I'm in some legal stuff with my other condo, but I was running into another issue over there. And, yeah, I was trying to force all these solutions and force all these answers. And so then I thought, okay, so how would a person who's already dealt with this feel? They would feel free. They would make quick decisions. They would just do whatever they need to do to just get it done and put it behind them so they could put their energy towards what's actually exciting. Like, again, for me, the wedding, my clients, the house, all these things. It's like I wouldn't even worry about these other little things in the back. I would just do what I need to do to deal with them in abundance and move forward. And so then I said, okay, so that's what I have to do. So once I saw that, I thought, just go send the money. And I did. And then guess what? I immediately felt this weight come off my shoulders, right? Like I just sent the money and I was like, cool, it's gone, but this is now done. And guess what? I freed myself out of that. And so then my feelings switched, right? Now I feel like I'm a person who's abundant, who's capable, who handles things, who is free. And wouldn't you know, everything started to shift to match that. All of a sudden, I just had 3 clients renew that I was like, oh, awesome. I have another client who I used to work with come back saying, oh, okay, let's work together for a couple months. Like it just all came together just because I just finally just like quit sitting in fear and restriction and just like felt different. I had to change up my feeling state. And everything has felt way lighter since. And guess what? Now I do get to focus on the fun things. I do get to focus on the wedding and all these things, right? But my point is this, it's like sometimes shit just happens in life that you can't control. Okay? Like I'm not trying to say that all of a sudden like you're exempt from hard things happening. That's just not life. Like things happen. But how we deal with it is our choice. And yes, do you have to create action to deal with things? Of course. But what is the feeling behind those actions? Show the universe that you're abundant by paying the bill, no questions asked, right? Show the universe that you are confident your partner's going to come by loving yourself the way you want to be loved. Like it has to see that internally you are feeling this stuff so it can move things around you to feel the same. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. We can't control anything but ourselves. So if you don't like what's happening externally, change the inside and the pieces will move to match. It's just the laws of energy. Okay, so if there's something in your life that's really sticking you, that's winding you up, and again, it might even be something silly. Like this might not sound like a big deal to some of you. I honestly don't think it's a big deal now that I'm saying it out loud either, and now that I've actually just went through it. Like it's probably seems something that really is really trivial, but if you're asking, why is it bothering me so much? Or why is it affecting me so much? Then the only way to shift that is to regulate, okay? But then like reverse engineer it. What would happen if this didn't bother me? Or if this wasn't like I would just say yes to this. I would pay the bill. I would hire the person. I wouldn't go to the dinner party. I would say no to that. Like just whatever you would do without the angst of the pressure, then do that. We make it so much harder on ourselves sometimes. Like, again, I was sitting here strategizing, like, how much I need to bring in for this and that. Like, who cares? Just pay it. And then those things ended up happening anyways, and I didn't even have to force it. Right? So I'm not saying that your feelings are facts in the sense of like sometimes we can feel a certain way about something and then we start to like think that's the reality. But our feelings do have merit. And it's a fine balance between feelings and logic. And When you're at a point where you've done everything you can and things are outside of your control, that's when you have to come back to the feeling. What inside me is making this harder? What inside of me is eating me up more about this? And then how can I shift that state so that I can respond to this in a more freeing, clear, regulated, balanced manner? Okay? So, short episode today. Whatever that issue is, I want you to ask yourself, how would someone who's abundant, who's loved, who's free, who's happy, who's excited about life, how would that person deal with that? And what's an action I can take right now to be aligned with that person so that I can start to feel better about the whole thing? And watch, see what happens. And tell me. I like to hear about these stories, guys. So send me a DM on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and tell me how it shifted. Because the universe always wants to conspire to your favor. It always wants you to win. Trust me. Universe, God, however you refer to it, it wants you to win. It wants you to have all the love and all the abundance in the world. It wants you to be free. But it could bring the most perfect package to your doorstep. And if you are not ready to receive that, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to receive that, but it wants you to win. You just need to know how to work with those energies.